As someone who uprooted depression through meditation, I recognize it as an uphill battle in a hopeless state. Mechanically speaking, this can only happen when you live your life through thought and intellect because you haven't realized that your intellect is limited. It is very similar to stress and anxiety because these three can only exist when you employ your intellect to do things it's not supposed to do. Stress occurs when you choose to do things that you know are detrimental to you, so it's the easiest one to stop doing by acting more in line with who you are. For anxiety, it's a bit subtler than stress, which happens when you fear the unknown by attributing traits to it that repels you from looking at it. All it takes is to look at the unknown without judgment because you're already creating a story before the event has happened. You need to be honest with yourself that you truly don't know what is going to happen, but you think you know what is going to happen, which implies you're relying on memories to walk into the future. It's like carrying your furniture on your back when you're going outside for daily activities. So before I talk about depression, you need to know about the 7 needs a human requires to thrive. In the order of how fast you will die if you don't have them, they are breathing, water, sleep, food, conducive shelter, a relationship, and creative expression. On one end, you can die in minutes, while the other end leads to a slow, crippling death in years. Many people have the first 5, which would mean you're doing pretty well in life. Notice how stress, anxiety, and depression isn't on this scale, and the reason for this is because it's all self-imposed and you were taught that certain things are for survival when they aren't. And if you're watching this video, obviously you're conscious enough to recognize this, and now your job is to unlearn everything you've been fed as a child. Then there's relationships, which doesn't necessarily mean loneliness. Loneliness is also part of the mind where you were taught that relationships can only happen through bodies touching or romance. This is especially true for Western cultures where you're constantly bombarded with media that puts body touching on a pedestal. When your perspective of relationships is this myopic, it requires a conscious reframing and redefining of what relationships are so that you don't slowly cripple yourself to death. I will make a separate video about how to do this because it does require more detail on how to sever the connection between a true relationship and the one your mind has made up. Now, if you're depressed, it's typically because you have the first 6 needs met, so you're in a really good spot in life, except that you are actively holding yourself back from your full potential and from your creative expression. I also call depression the final gate before happiness, which means that you're really close to living your life as a free human being, except that you are afraid of freedom. You are afraid to drop your moralities, philosophies, the judgment of good and evil, right and wrong, what is socially acceptable, what is culturally acceptable, what is traditional, and any excuse you want to make up to keep yourself from being your absolute best. You are still holding on to things other people say instead of having full trust in your experience because you believe that other people know more than you. Of course, you can pay attention to real experts, but you need to have the honesty to choose what works and what doesn't. This is also why depression is challenging to pinpoint because many people have beliefs about a lot of things, and depression is much subtler than the previous emotions, so it will only be apparent when you've integrated those other aspects of yourself. What you're dealing with now is relaxing the need to rely on your intellect. You've been toiling away at your life, doing everything logically, methodically, and consistently, which gets really tiring and will result in bodily pain because you're accumulating negative thought. And for those who didn't know, your mind and body are directly connected, so if negativity happens in thought, it will mirror as pain in the body, and vice versa. The longer you ignore the feeling of effort, the more difficult it will be to act until it gets to the point you have no will to move because the unbearable pain is supposed to get you to the point of stillness, which you're actively ignoring. So why? Why do you have to be still? By being still, you will remember your natural state as a human being. And have you ever stopped to ask yourself if what you're doing is truly in alignment with who you are? Do you even know what your natural state is? If you're in negative emotion, you obviously don't, and I was in the exact same place too. If it wasn't apparent already, stillness is your natural state, which depression has been guiding you towards this entire time. In fact, depression is a natural occurrence to get you back to this neutral point of stillness when you've strayed too far from who you are. But a lot of people in society and psychology has defined it negatively, which is a terrible mistake. So as you let depression pull you in, you will begin to feel this emptiness within you, which a lot of people are afraid of. But did you know that this emptiness you have fear towards is actually happiness? The interesting thing is, if you define this sensation as a negative experience, you get the illusion of depression. This is how powerful your beliefs and thoughts are to be able to obscure the obvious. And many of us are taught to think happiness is elsewhere when it was this emptiness this entire time. So in essence, happiness is your natural state. This state is also called meditation, bliss, awakening, flow state, God, love, consciousness, life, nature, or whatever label you want to give it. And yes, they are all one and the same. This emptiness is true love and true freedom, but if you're still in the intellect, you're afraid of it. You want things to be predictable and reduce all the guesswork, but that's not how life works. Life is always changing and there will always be uncertainty. If you've ever wanted permanent security, this ever-changing emptiness is it. You can't reach this state if you still assume things about life. Freedom is a jump into the abyss, and you will need to leave all your philosophies, moralities, cultures, and teachings behind. It's a complete severance from hearsay and a full trust in yourself. These thoughts and ideas are not yours, and you need to have the honesty to stop identifying with all labels. You also don't use anything as an excuse to justify your actions, and this is all within the state of no depression and no intellect. Depression also happens because you've reached the limits of what you can use your intellect for, so now it's time to sheathe it and use a more efficient organ, your heart. Unlike the intellect, which receives information in a continuous streamline, the heart accepts all information simultaneously, and therefore cannot be overwhelmed. However, this doesn't mean you lose the capability of intellect. You are still able to use it, but now you see the intellect as a tool and you can pick it up whenever you need it, and put it down whenever you don't. Many meditators spend decades and even their entire lives to understand this, but depression gives you a free pass into bliss. You're already there. It's a simple reframing of your situation and accepting it. But how do you accept it? You will need to acknowledge it as if its existence will be there for the rest of your life. Don't label it as happiness or depression. If you want to practice, put your hand under cold water and don't label the sensation as cold. Just feel the sensation neutrally without a label. Apply this whenever you feel pain or an emotion you're trying to fight against. Extend the pain and emotion to infinity. If you have to live with it, there's no point in fighting something that will last longer than you. It's a war of attrition you will never win. You can't fight against the universe and you can't fight against your nature. You can only go along with it because there's no need for you to feel separate anymore. So that's the solution to depression. If you want to do the same meditation I did to get out of it, I left the link to the free guided meditation I used, which I did for over 90 days. Just make sure you don't skip a day, otherwise you lose the momentum and will have to start over from day one. You could also do it twice a day, in the morning and evening if you want to do it for about 40 or 48 days. So be committed if you're going into it, even when you feel miserable. I had to sit through a lot of pain myself, but I was afraid of wasting time, so that sense of loss kept me going.